eradicating malnutrition, securing a stable supply of food. Those goals are a long way off for Zimbabwe. And the road is also long for Angonadzache Chivanza. He has to walk 5 kilometers to bring home seeds and fertilizer, distributed through the UN Food and Agriculture Organization. This is a rural community in eastern Zimbabwe. Angonadzache lost his parents at the age of 12, and neighbors taught him how to farm. He's now 22 in a country where life expectancy is only about 40. And 3 decades of suppression under President Mugabe broke the country's economic backbone. His so-called land reform program led to the collapse of commercial agriculture. Severe droughts have also made things worse for small farmers.
It's difficult for me, because I'm the only breadwinner at home. There are 8 of us, the rest of the family is younger than me. I don't have a stable income from my small fields. Therefore, I rely on petty trade and casual labour on other farms. So we really do not have enough from those sources of income.
Angonadzache carries a heavy burden to feed and bring up his brothers and sisters after inheriting this land from his parents. 2008 was a very difficult year. Many farmers had to slaughter or sell their cattle. Some families even ate a portion of their seeds. It was a struggle for survival, with 7 million people getting international food aid. Angonadzache has plenty of water, with a good supply nearby, but the soil is a problem. Nothing grows here without fertilizer, and that brings up the issue of money. He would like to get married and raise his own family, but can't afford to. Fertilizer and seeds have to come first.
The amount of fertilizer we need to get a good crop from this type of soil around my place is quite high. The soil is sandy, and so it quickly becomes overused. What we end up doing is maximizing the use of a smaller piece of land so we get a reasonable harvest.
What is needed is not more land, but more fertilizer, and not just the one bag handed out by the FAO. Cattle is used to plough the land here, and Angonadzache uses his neighbour's cattle. In exchange, he makes bricks for them.
My worst-case scenario for the future is a situation where there is no longer a neighbour who can lend me the cattle. I have just 2 goats and some hens, but to work my land, I really need cattle to do the ploughing. No cattle, that's the worst-case scenario I can imagine here for me.
Angonadzache has survived over the past couple of years with food aid from NGOs such as World Vision International and the Catholic Relief Service. With funding from the EU worth over 15 million euros, almost 180,000 farmers in Zimbabwe are now receiving seeds and fertilizer in time for the planting season. And farmers receive training on how to plan the planting of crops, proper spacing and weeding techniques.
Food security really is an issue, and it is a problem in this area. We used to have a fairly large middle income group in the population who could support their folk in the rural area. But now that is a thing of the past. People in the both urban areas and rural areas do not have access to adequate income, and that has affected farming to a large extent.
The FAO and the EU have made it clear, free seeds and fertilizers are not for those who have taken advantage of the controversial Mugabe land reforms. Distribution points are spread around the countryside, and Distribution Day is a day of joy. Speeches are given, a theatre group performs an anti-AIDS play, singers are applauded. Recipients of the aid have to prove they're able to work the land, and they own just a small number of animals. The objective is to support the poor in their effort to boost their harvest. Today, a huge number of Zimbabweans are exposed to chronic malnutrition. 1 in every 3 children are malnourished and underweight. The EU remains divided over how much to cooperate with President Mugabe. There are questions about whether he's serious about honouring a power-sharing deal with his political opponents. But the EU and the FAO have lobbied successfully for some deregulation.
In the past, until this year, the farmers were not allowed to sell surplus on the open market. They had to sell it to the Grain Marketing Board, the government parastatal. But now, if they produce 2 or 3 tons extra, they can sell that on the open market at the price of the market. So there's no restriction anymore. So it's an incentive for families to plant more, take more risk, and harvest more.
Transition through liberalisation. But the world still remembers Mugabe's violent land reform in 2000. Land seized from white farmers was redistributed to the president's followers. Production fell dramatically.
The decision here has been taken that land will be nationalized and that 99-year lease will be given to farmers. I don't have anything to say with that. That is a sovereign decision of Zimbabwe. But the title, the 99-year lease title, are not bankable as they are designed now, because they are made in such a way that the government can take the land anytime they want under any arbitrary decision. And this needs to change.
And a serious lack of credit is a common problem. Windmill is one of the 2 big fertilizer producers in Zimbabwe. When hyperinflation reached 200 million% at the start of this year, Windmill was operating at less than 1/10 of its production capacity. Workers were no longer paid with money but food. The adoption of the US dollar is seen as a relief. Today the workers get money with real value. Now the plant is working day and night. However, decades of hardship have led to a backlog of upgrading work, and the management wants to double production next year.
The immediate problem of our factory is to access credit, which we think with the economy improving, we should access credit. And then we have to get our plants working again, and we need to finance spares.
Our destination now is eastern Zimbabwe. In Mutoko, we meet Gladys, a small farmer's widow. Over the next 3 years, a program known as the EU Food Facility will channel €1 billion towards small farmers in developing nations, including Gladys. Her husband died from tuberculosis, and Gladys is also sick with the illness. She tells us she can't afford the $35 it costs for a 50-kilo bag of fertilizer. She grows maize, potatoes, onions and other vegetables, but it's difficult to make a living.
The major challenge we are facing now is the market. We do produce some small surplus to sell, but you can go in the morning and try to sell and come back in the evening with exactly the same produce you had to go out to sell. So we do not have a real market for our products.
Zimbabwe urgently needs foreign investors, but they're put off by the ongoing political tension. As European countries and others offer expertise and support, EU diplomats are also backing calls for an independent review of how Zimbabwe's land could be better used.